Hi everyone, welcome to the Bioinformatics Coach channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to submit and run jobs on an HPC cluster using the qsub command. Now, qsub is a command that is used in the job scheduler PBS for submitting jobs on HPC clusters. So if you are using a Linux cluster, then the documentation, it's likely you may see that the command for submitting jobs is qsub. Some also use bsub. There are different schedulers. Some also use slam, etc. But for this tutorial, what we are going to focus on is the use of the qsub command. Now, there are several tutorials online, okay, that you can check. I'll leave some useful links in the description box. So this is just one of them. This is just one of the pages which has documentations on qsub. All right. So there are several tutorials that you can check, but I'm going to give you the basics so that you can use that to submit your jobs on an HPC cluster. All right. So for beginners, this is for you. All right. So first of all, let's log on to an HPC system. All right. That's what we are going to do first. I will log on to my HPC system first so that I'll show you how it's done. So if you have a cluster, you should get an account and also follow me. So I'll say SSH DPSO at, and I'll say 127.0.0.1-P2024. This is how I log into my cluster, all right, my HPC cluster. Then I will enter my password to get into the system. All right, so I'm already in my HPC cluster. All right, so it's a Linux cluster, and so obviously you can do ls, you can do pwd, you can just do clear, etc. Those are things you can do. Now, if you have a job that you want to submit, first of all, I recommend you create a directory for every project that you do. All right, so that's what we are going to do. Let's take this scenario. Let's say we want to download data. All right, so I have some links here. I will share this link with you, by the way. The link to these links are in the description box. So let's say we want to write a script to download data from ENA. All right, I'll just give you an example here. So let's say I went to ENA. I think I took some stuffs here. Let me just use ENA European Encrypted Archive. So let me just go here. I just want to show you. Sometimes you have several files you want to download. All right. So I'm just giving you an example. Let's say you want to submit a job that will download files. All right. So let's visit this. Let's go to this page. I'll just show you. So I'm on this page. You don't need to visit this page yourself, but if you still want to, I'll give the link in the description box. So let's say you have some files you want to download. All right. Here I have some files which are here. Okay, so it is this file that I've prepared the links and the commands. All right, so all these commands, I'll leave them in the description box for you to just use them, or we can just prepare new ones. That's fine. All right, so let's say we want a script that will download these two files from us. Okay, we are using HPC, we are using qsub. All right, so there's a project called maybe download. So what we have to do is to first create a folder or a directory, and then we can now work in it. So let's say make the data sets, and then let's cd into the data sets directory. So we are still in the cluster. Now, once we are done, what we can do is to now prepare our scripts. All right, we are in this directory. All right, so I'll prepare my scripts. I'll say nano, okay, and then I'll just say, yeah, before I even do that, let's even do this first. It's important. Now on the cluster, you can just check what is happening on the cluster. If it's qsub, then it's likely you can also check what jobs are currently running on the cluster. All right, so you can just say qstat-a. So this will let you know what jobs are currently running. So currently on my cluster, I have a user run a job. Okay, so this is the job. So if it's qstat, this is how it's going to appear. So you have the job name, session ID, the notes, task, that's number of CPUs, memory, etc. All right, and then from there you will know if you can also submit a job or not. So sometimes, yeah, you can also check the status. So here it's R, so that means it's running. So that's fine. So this is just to check. But you are also a different user. You want to submit your job. But once you know this, it's fine. You can proceed. You can also check PBS notes. That's for those who are using PBS as a job scheduler. You can say PBS node-A to see all the available compute nodes. Okay, so compute nodes, these are the servers that actually do the work. All right, I'm actually preparing a talk, a presentation where I take you through an overview of an HPC cluster. So I will explain these things in details. But you as a beginner, as an end user, don't bother yourself too much about this thing. Just know the results. That's fine. All right. So from here, you can see that there are some CPUs that are free. Or let me say some nodes that are still free. Okay. So when you check PBS nodes, you see the compute node. So there's one of them. It says state free. Okay. We also have all these free. So that means if they are free, that means you can use them to do your work. All right. So those are things you have to take note of. So let's clear the screen. Let's say qstat-a again to see the status. Based on the configurations you have, you may be allowed to submit 1 or maybe 2 or 3 maximum jobs at a time, which will run, or there could be other things basically. So, I mean, these are things that usually you have to talk to your system admin to get more information. But I'm assuming that everything is set up and you can run your jobs freely without any restrictions. So now let's start. Okay, so now that we know our system is working, we can now create our job submission scripts. Okay, now to create a job submission script, this documentation here provides a very cool information which I would like to share. This page here, I'll leave the link to this page also in the description box. So when you are creating a job submission script, that's PBS. All right, for PBS users, there are several options you can choose from. In the script, you have to specify some information. So, i.e., resources. If you are using a computer cluster and HPC system, you need to select your resources, the number of nodes, number of CPUs, the memory, wall time, etc. All right. So for this tutorial, we are doing a minimalist activity. So that means I'll just touch on a few of these options, and then later on you can check your documentation and read more. So for this exercise, we are going to select the number of nodes, i.e. 1. We will select number of processors per nodes. We will also select 2 or 1, and then we also select the memory, which is here. Now for wall time, you can also specify it. Some servers or some configurations are such that there's a default wall time. That means how long your job can run. All right. So if it goes beyond a certain number, the job will automatically be terminated. So some documentation is required to specify a wall time so that you bypass that restriction. So I mean, these are things that you always have to discuss with your system admin. I'm giving you the basics here. All right. So for this exercise, we are going to select the number of nodes, 1, and then we're also going to select the memory. All right. But there are other options. You can specify the job name using -n. We also have a section for specifying an output whereby things that was supposed to be displayed on the screen can be directed to this output. If you have error messages, it's here. So basically, just read this documentation. It will serve as a guide for all of you. All right. So we are going to keep it simple. So in our exercise, we have this files we want to download. Okay, which are here. Okay. So what you want to do is to get these files. All right. Actually, I will give you a smaller file. That's important so that we can get it done easily for us. All right. Let's do this. I would like us to rather use this as session ID here because the files here are comparatively smaller, so it wouldn't take much time. So I want us to use this. Okay, so I'll leave the link to this page in the description box. So when you visit this page, just scroll down. So what we are going to do is to submit a job that will download these files for us. Okay, so just these 2 files. So on this page, what I want you to do is to come back to your terminal, and then we'll start something here. All right. So first of all, let's create a job submission script. Let's say nano, and let's say download.job, or you can also say download.pbs. Anyhow is fine. All right. So I'll just say download.job. Then in it, we have to select the resources we want to use. All right. So since we are dealing with PBS, first I'll just start with my shebang line first, because I have a Linux system. I want to use this. So this, I'll do this first, and then I'll now come and select the resources that I want to use to do the activity. Now, this is where sometimes people also tend to misunderstand things here. So if you are going to select resources, i.e. number of nodes, you need to check if indeed the number of nodes you are going to select will be appropriate for your work. Sometimes people maybe will select 2 nodes, but in reality their work would use just 1 node. So in that case, the other one still gets hijacked in a way, but it's still not used by you. So you need to assess and make sure that whatever resources you are taking, you will be using all those ones. If not, then it becomes a waste of resource. So since it's a download, we are just going to select one node. So in PBS, to select resources, you bring a hash and you say PBS, and you say -L, and you say nodes equals 1, colon, and you say ppn equals, let's say, 2. You come here, PBS-L, mem equals, here I'll say 1 GB. All right, so I'll just keep it like this. Then when I come here, what I'll do is to now put my other commands or analysis or tax commands. Okay, this is what you have to do. All right. Now, there's another thing you also have to take note. You need to also take a look or take a note at your working directory where you are working. All right. So I'll do this. I'll just try to open another tab here. I'll just do an SSH VPS, so @127. I'm just going into it again. I just want to show you something before we proceed, because these are things that as a beginner you need to take note of. So I'll just log in into the system again and show you this. All right, let's just try to log in. All right, so remember we had to create a directory called dataset and then cd into it. All right, so that's where we are now. Now if you look at your job submission scripts, we are here now. We have to do what? Put in our tags. Okay, so the task we need to put in is to get a command that will download the files, which I'm going to show. But first, where is the data going to be stored? So personally, for me as a beginner, to avoid any issues, first cd to where you want the data to be stored. All right, so if you are in data sets here, all right, you can just do pwd, see where you are. Then you can now just copy that. For now, I'll just copy. I don't want to type, I'll just copy and paste, but you can also type, it's fine. And I'll say cd/home/dpso/datasets. For this is where I'm working in. Then you can now put your other commands. So in this exercise, we are going to submit a job that will download these files. All right, so on this page, I repeat, the link to this page is in the description box. So when you are here, I want you to just come here, the first one, right click, and then copy the link, and then come to your script and say wget, and then paste it there. Then go again, right click, copy the link, come to the page, do wget, and then paste the link again. Now we are done. So Control X, type Y, and it's saved. Do an ls, so it's lowercase ls. I put lowercase ls. So if you do an ls, you will see your script there. You can do a cut just to make sure you have everything you need in there. Then you can now submit that job. All right, let's clear the screen. Let's do an else again. So now you can submit the job. So to submit with qsub, you just say qsub. But first, let's just check to make sure. So currently there's still a job running, which is fine, but we want to do hours. So let's clear the screen, let's do an ls, and now let's submit the job. So to submit the job, you just say qsub, and you say download.job. So once you do it, you will get a job ID, which is given to you. All right, so now it's working. All right, now if you do qstar-a, you should see your job working. So you know it was given to us as q, it was given us, the number was given as 10001.master.local. So you should see that here, and you should also make sure you have everything you selected shown. So notes, we selected 1, tax is 2. Memory, we selected 1 GB. When you come to the status, which is very important, it should read R. R means it's working, it's running, and the elapsed time means that the time it has taken. All right, at that moment. Now it's just 0 because we started it, we just started. If you do Q start again, -A, all right, it's now says what? It's still 0, it's still working. That's fine. Okay, so it can always change depending on how long it takes. So that's fine. All right. Let's try once again. Okay, it will still change later on when you come back. So now let's do an ls. So now if you do an ls, you will see it's this one. It's still currently downloading, I believe, because the status showed R. So currently this one is downloading. Okay. Now what is happening that with qsub, if you run it, the commands, no, let me just put it the way, the outputs will not be displayed for you because it has been submitted to a computer nodes. All right. So another computer is now doing the job and it's working behind the scenes. So whatever output you get will not be displayed for you. So if you want to still get a hold of the outputs, then this is where you use this other option, -O. Okay, you can add this -O, PBS-O, specify a file so that all those standard outputs will be stored or saved in that script. All right, so if you want to also get the error messages, you use this approach. But anyway, these are things that for advanced users you can look at it, or if you still want more tutorials on this, you can always book a session with me. That's fine, we'll go through them, but for now we are keeping it simple for beginners. Let's do qstar-A again. Okay, so what do we get? I think it's even done. Okay, everything has been done. So when your job is done successfully, then you realize that your job is no longer in that queue. You know, we had 10001. We did qstar-A for some time and we realized it was still there, but now it's not there. So that means it's done. Okay, so let's clear the screen. Let's do an ls, and we are now going to see what our 2 files. You know, we have to download 2 files, read 1 and then read 2. All right, so the job has been successfully done. Okay, so we see that it has been done here. So you now have to examine your outputs and proceed. Okay, now with the qsub, with system that I have used, which were running qsub, if you don't specify an output and for the outs and then the error, you'll get this automatically. So we have the job submission script that you submitted. You have other files with the same name and then with extensions .o and .e indicating the outputs. Okay, now let's do a cat here. Cat.o. Yes. Okay, there's nothing there. Okay, let's do cat download.e. We have some stuff there. Okay, so sometimes even though the .e will be used for, let's say, error outputs, it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever content that is there is as a result of an error. Sometimes it's just a misinterpretation by bash. Okay, so sometimes it's actually working, but then it's interpreted as maybe an error message, but it's not so. But anyway, it's there so that you can read the contents to make sure that whatever message is being given there is okay or it's abnormal. So even though when you submit a job, it's not going to be displayed for you, there are still ways to monitor and check. And one way is to look at these files. Okay, so this is how we do it. All right. So if you know what files you're also expecting, once the job is done, you just need to inspect your directory to make sure those files have been generated. All right, so that's how we do it. Okay, sometimes so the qstar-A, let's do it again. You may see that the job is running, and after that, when you do again, it's no longer there. Probably the job has ended, but it did not end successfully. So again, you still have to examine your outputs and then make sure that everything is fine. Sometimes it can be in queue. There are other codes as well. Okay, but these are things that you always have to discuss with your system admin or HPC manager to help you start with that. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is how to submit a job on an HPC cluster using the qsub command. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section and we can discuss more. For those who also want to book a session, just let me know and we can work out something. So I'll also be talking about how to submit using Slam as well as other job schedulers. So just make sure to come back to the channel and watch more of such tutorials. So that'll be all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next session.